Fresh off a pretty chaotic game, we are returning back to some level of normalcy. Yes, hello, Jamada. I'm looking the wrong way. I look the wrong way. Just look away from you. I don't want to look at your face, Jamada. I want to look at graphics of Fnatic Rising versus Nordavind. Guys, Fnatic currently 12-3 over in Group B. Nordavind 9-6. Yeah, what are we making of these teams? You know, there's still stuff on the line this game. I need to double check. I didn't read in the break because we were kind of recovering from the madness. So, go, Jamada, talk.
Yeah, so long story short, Riddle are still one game behind Fnatic and can tie them up to force a tiebreaker, right? And it's against Kova. That's the final game of the day. So realistically, Fnatic do need to win this game to avoid the tiebreaker, because I think chances are Kova will probably get rolled over in the next game. So important game for Fnatic, and for Nordavind, bit of a nothing game, right? I don't think they can actually move in the standings whatsoever. So it's more about kind of just pride and playing upset for Nordavind more than anything else. But for Fnatic, to avoid the tiebreaker and end up in that top spot in the top side of the bracket, they need this win.
And it's going to be a tall ask as well, because they've lost Featherfin. They've now got Dejor in the mid lane as their new mid laner.
Yeah.
So it's going to kind of be on how is this new Fnatic going to be looking. Diana, LeBlanc, Viego, and the Fresh have been taken away so far in the ban phase. See how this game's going to pan out, Foxy.
It's definitely going to be different than the one we just had, because Diana and Thresh, you know, not going to be able to pick those up. So still some open picks. Still some things available. The Astro Yone worked pretty well. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not quite sure to see this one, unfortunately, in this game. But Xin is still available.
Yeah,
Nordavind doesn't ban it here. That's there you go. You got some pretty solid picks right there. I'm curious to see whether Tom Kench starts making more of a showing as well. By the way, as a champion in general, Fnatic said it was broken, and you know, these kind of newly reworked champs, maybe, you know, they have potential.
You made a pretty good case. I mean, I think a lot of the adjusted champions, right? all of them, Dr. Mundo, Lilia, Irelia, all room for them to be in this mirror as well, and Tom Kench. So they are going to avoid the Xin Zhao ban. Will Fnatic just lock it up? Because it seems to be pretty much pick or ban at the moment, is what it feels like. Don't worry, I think Pride always hovers Lulu Foxy. It's okay.
Okay. You saw my face.
So stressed. It's cool, yeah. So expecting the Xin Zhao, and when you do see the Xin Zhao, you usually tend to pair up with not only heavy engage, but also one utility champion on top of it, just to make it extra obnoxious. We'll see if that is the path that Fnatic want to choose. Nordavind, however, they're going to immediately lock in the Lee Sin, hovering the Tristana. I wouldn't be surprised to see it locked in. It will be. So already sort of a strong foundation for a lot of flexibility in their draft. And of course, a lot of AD, so they will likely lock in an AP champion on that final rotation, but we'll have to see. As Fnatic immediately, it looks like Kalista and Nautilus in one rotation, so they're not playing. They want to play aggressive in the bottom side when they've got that Xin Zhao in the jungle.
So do you think this Tristana is going to be mid or bot, or is it like really a flex at this point?
I mean, I think when you're dealing with Kalista plus Nautilus, it's kind of a toss-up, because you could realistically lock in something like Varus, try and mash the lane like prowess on the Chrisberg side of things. You'd also kind of need a support in this position right now, which is why we're seeing the Alistar come in. The other option could have maybe been Braum, but I think you need immediate sort of peel/disengage, which Braum can't necessarily provide just by pressing a button immediately. So I don't mind this here for touch. The Tristana, though, it's definitely a tough question. I think Sharp, he's a pretty decent player as well. So it's more like, will Curb be willing to also play AP on the top side if we see the Tristana shift up to Ericsson and then have Summit in the bottom side? There's also still the Ziggs available. We've seen the Silas band away because you've got the Alistar. A lot is going on in this draft, actually. Like, credit to both teams. They are reading into each other really, really well.
Absolutely are. We're into the second ban phase. The Silas, the Camille band away. Maybe just going to see something else that's a bit flexible coming out. Obviously, it's still got like top lanes you can look towards. You've got things like the Wukong, which we do see typically, but actually going to take away the Twisted Fate, just looking to shut down any roaming potential from the new Fnatic mid laner. Fnatic now, I wonder if they just want to ban the Wukong here.
I think Nordavind are actually looking at not Twisted Fate. They're looking at Akali potentially with these two bans. Those two bans also scream out that to me. LeBlanc's removed off the table as well. I wonder if Fnatic are going to have the same read on this or not, whether they're just going to ban away another Kerberos champion like the Wukong. Like you said, it will be that. And if we do see something like the Akali locked in, it will be 100% Tristana in the bottom side. We'll have to see. It's just what I'm reading off these bans. It could, of course, be like literally anything else, another control mage for Ericsson, or again, another AD carry for Chrisberg, and then they look to pick up an AP champion, either in the top side or in the jungle. They put Curb on the Lee Sin. Loads of options still for Nordavind. And Okay, looks like instead, we're going to see something a little more static in the mid lane. Orianna, I think against a champion like Kalista, you need some kind of zone control as well when it comes to the team fights, and Orianna provides just that.
And now you got to get a strong mid for Fnatic so that you can actually use his Xin.
Yeah.
And make you know, just not waste the pick. Get something strong that can have mid pro. I absolutely hate it when people drafts
in no setup or like no priority in the mid lane. It feels really bad to watch.
Lucian's open.
It is.
Okay, to be fair, you laugh. This is a pretty good rotation here if they also decide to lock in someone like Mundo, because then they've got a strong weak side top side. Yep. They've got the Seraphine to buff up the Xin Zhao, and the Seraphine, in my mind, should gain priority over the Orianna. So that gives all the freedom in the world to Maxi to just roam to whatever side of the map he wants. In this case, it should just always be the Kalista Nautilus lane. So Nordavind, I need to see something really strong to maybe try and punish this Mundo in the top side, because I think when it comes to the bottom side, chances are you're probably going to have to sack this. And I think it's immediately from the get-go going to have to be a bit of a cross-map game. Something like Fiora would be spicy. And honestly, I don't think Mundo can survive the scaling of Fiora in the side lane once you hit like that 25-minute 2-iron mark. This is a really big curveball for me, which I think can pay dividends if Curb doesn't fall behind.
I mean, just as a point as well, Kerberos played a lot of Mundo when he got reworked. So if anyone's going to know what handles that lane well, it is going to be Kerberos. He's going to have a pretty good understanding of these matchups. But I'm going to throw it to you, Foxy. What are Fnatic's win cons here, and what are Nordavind looking to do as well?
So I think whenever you've got the Seraphine in mid, you're always looking to be more like grouping up, and you're looking to play more through like you know, that kind of style. You've got some decent pick potential as well. I think is a little bit underrated, especially when you look at the side of Nordavind. But to be honest, like I just think like Joanna said, the curveball of Fiora, that to me is going to hinge a lot on how both teams want to play, because that's a question you have to answer. You know, either attacking the side lane or grouping up and forcing her to then like respond likewise.
And not only that, for me, the Fnatic focus should be on these dragons, right? Because you've got such strong like bottom mid side. So usually, you know, this isn't really a split push meta. Fiora is probably going to be on a timer, especially if we get, you know, an Inferno or a Mountain or something like that, which can pressure Nordavind into coming towards these dragons to team fight. So maybe if they can sneak away a dragon, really big for them. It would really delay the game. But if Fnatic do start to snowball these dragons, the ticking time bomb of Fiora can be a little bit offset.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to pass it over to our casters. You can see we've done a switcherino, so it's going to be Scoundrel and Orcs. Over to you guys.
I'm currently muted. Thank you very much, Hip Rain, for sort of taking over our role. Me and Orcs are going to go and jump in and do some casting for you. And this is actually a game that does mean a significant amount. You know, Fnatic win here. They secure first spot in Group B. It means we'll have no playoff or no tiebreaker situations to go through when we get to Thursday. And it means that for one of the first times in a long time, the NLC will be settled as the regular season ends. Talked a little bit about win cons. You heard on the analyst desk there, Orcs. I want to now pry into how you think that these teams need to win. Obviously, Fiora offers you a good split push win condition. I think we can all see that. But, you know, on the Fnatic side of things, what are they looking to do to ensure victory in this game?
I think the fact that you can be able to have priority mid from the Seraphine, the fact you got a really strong early skirmishing jungler, that mid jungle should be coming out ahead, and then you can transfer that pressure bot, free up. If your support finds an opportunity to get freed up, they can also move mid. You move between these two lanes, applying pressure and consistently finding a numbers advantage to make plays happen. I think that's the main focus for them. They want to get Bean ahead in particular. They want Maxi to be strong. Pride will kind of just be left to his own devices. We may see some attention put up there only when they're like wanting to help him out, saves waves at a bad spot. For the most part, though, they are playing for this bot side of the map.
And kind of need to get that snowballing as well. Need to get the Kalista rolling as quickly as possible. They have I think they've got pretty strong, you know, as you said, pretty strong team fights too. I mean, Seraphine always makes a team fight stronger just by being involved in that team fight in general. And we have seen Fnatic be one of the few teams that have actually piloted New Mundo to success as well, either through Maxi and sometimes through Pride. Not many other teams are actually going for this pick. Obviously, there are certain scenarios where it's good in, but I imagine it's not an easy matchup into the Fiora, and Kerberos being a special, you know, a speciality carry top laner. He should feel pretty comfortable in this matchup, Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely specifically picked this so that he can win the split push, because, you know, I actually thought Nasus would be okay here, but the problem with Nasus is you're not going to be that good at split pushing, simply because Pride can run Anathema's chains, and Mundo actually does a fair bit of damage. So, you know, for the most part, you can kind of ignore him if you're just healing, but I feel like you'd be waiting for a bit too long for that to come in, whereas the true damage from Fiora's passive really makes this a matchup that you can look to kind of punish in the later stages. And again, team fighting is going to be rough for the most part. Then there will come a point where I feel like the Orianna Shockwave will do enough damage where maybe you can just like find your way in team fights if it hits critical members. But for the most part, I think Nordavind having that extra win con is a safe decision. However, in the early game, you know, I actually think it's really important if they secure a dragon, because the worst thing that can happen in this game is that there's a really important dragon soul and Nordavind feel forced to fight it when Fiora doesn't want to. So if they can grab an early dragon, it'd be huge. And obviously can look to see if they'll be able to do that.
Also, something that we haven't really talked a huge amount about is the new mid laner coming in for Fnatic. I'm going to butcher his name. Is it Dejor or Dejor? I'll just guess. I'm going to say Dejor. He's obviously coming in for Febiven. So obviously the new mid lane, and as Taxa said, like it takes time to gel. It, you know, takes time to get a team gelled together. Obviously, he's coming in and filling big shoes, and Fnatic kind of need him to step up, and he's on a pretty critical role in this particular team.
Yeah, I think I will say though is I feel like Maxi and Rux are fairly experienced players, and on top of that, I think changing out your mid laner is less impactful than changing jungle and support.
Sure.
I think jungle and support just makes such a massive impact in how the team plays the maps. Often there are very active roles with regards to sort of orchestrating plays. And I think those changing is why Excels have had a big issue. But, you know, for the mid lane, Deja in this situation is playing the Seraphine. He's fanning Prow, assisting his Jin Zhao. I think Fnatic probably aren't going to have like a massive power deficit from trying to incorporate him with the roster. Obviously, there will be changes. They may all be negative, but I think this should still be a pretty competitive match. And Fnatic, looking to contest this blue, but it will reset. And as much as they had Prow in the bot lane, they've kind of lost that as Chris Briggs been able to push the wave out. So I think this is kind of just going to be a bust.
Yeah, I mean, they were trying to use the Prio mid and bot to sort of go for this invade on blue side against the Lee, but as you said, little too risky. I mean, they aren't significantly far enough ahead to say that that's an automatic win for them in like a small skirmish there. And again, taking risks this early on into the game, especially when it can mean your seeding spot on the line, it's going to be something that Fnatic look to avoid. But if Fnatic do need to go for a more aggressive early game, you can see Bean immediately forced to flash, caught out by the Alistair. Bean drops, gets taken down for first blood by Chrisberg, and essentially just straight up dies to an Alistair combo, which is pretty crazy. Now, Kerberos is going to have to be careful himself, actually uses the riposte that will drop to Maxi, so it'll be 1-for-1 across the map for the time being.
Yeah, not sure how Kerberos ended up in that situation.
Oh, he smites it away. Actually, Maxi smites that away from Sharp here, and you can see Deja just managed to slow down Sharp. Sharp dives across the wall with a safeguard, doesn't have the Raptors to go towards him. Fnatic flash forward and take another kill.
And honestly, if Chrisberg and Touch hadn't got that 2v2 kill bot lane, this game would look so doomed. You know, Kerberos kind of caught out, not sure what he was doing, wandering about in the river in that scenario. It was very clear that Nordavind wanted to contest the topside scuttle because they lost bot side. And I mean, we'll get a replay. So first off, I mean, this is a path the Alistair into the Callista. You can't dodge away from the combo. Tristana as well can jump on the Callista and burst her before she has a chance to stack the Rend. But on the top side, I mean, Kerberos just caught out. I think he was trying to establish some control for that scuttle. Gets collapsed on and goes down. And then, you know, Sharp makes this very risky decision to try and finish the scuttle and get away. And it backfires so massively. You know, ends up burning the flash as well. Raptors down already, and it just kind of puts them in a really bad position where, you know, we talked about how obviously Bean was a win con for this team, getting him ahead. Maxi also is. Maxi and Jin Zhao being buffed by the Seraphine will be a problem if they don't deal with him.
So the top side of the map has been good for Fnatic so far, has recovered from what was a 2v2 kill. And I've got to say, Nordovind's spot lane has been pretty solid all split long. Chrisberger's clearly one of the stronger AD carries in our league, and you know, Touch playing what I think is probably just his best champion, like outright his best champion. So obviously just, you know, getting any advantage that they can on that side of the map is important. You know, keeping that Callista locked down will be integral to kind of the success chances. I can't talk today, Orcs. The success chances of the Nordavind lineup. But with the strength of Maxi right now, he's in a good position. You mentioned that early dragons will be important for Nordavind to kind of slow the pace down of this Fnatic roster. Well, that won't happen. Fnatic have prioritized it. It looks like they have aligned with your way of thinking here, Orcs. The early dragons, if they can force them and keep Nordavind locked out, will be a good way to kind of accelerate their own win conditions.
Yeah, no, it'll get to the point where Nordavind might be forced to fight, and that may not be the ideal situation when they have a Fiora who in a good position to contest. Sharp, once again, trying to invade, is going to be warded off. I believe he managed to get the Grump prior to that, so it's not a complete loss, but it kind of just feels like Maxi is covering his bases at every angle. He is now heading bot side and should be able to pick up the skull, get in, get out, but very much this has been Maxi having a good leash on his jungle and just controlling everything and stopping Sharp from really getting too much of an advantage.
Sharp has head straight down towards that bottom scuttle though, so he should be able to take that as Maxi goes towards his own Krugs. Maxi probably going to hit level 6 ever so slightly before Sharp here. I think he might get it off this Krugs. I don't think so. Actually, might be a little bit further behind it. But yeah, he's obviously just ever so slightly ahead, but wasn't able to get to that River Scuttler in time. And you can see Touch now. He's going to get caught out by Maxi.
He doesn't have the flash, so I think he's gone.
Yeah, I think he might just be dead here. I was waiting to see if the engage came through. Actually knocks Maxi away, but Maxi dives straight back over the wall, uses the ultimate, and it's going to be Beam with the Ren that picks up the second kill onto Sharp. I almost handed over to Orcs to play-by-play there, by the way. Nonetheless, Fnatic looking good in the early game.
Yeah, get a bit of a jungle diff, in all honesty. I mean, Sharp just is being matched by Maxi at every point, and there he tries to go in to save Alistair. Just let him go. Touch is dead. By committing, you're just getting yourself caught out. And now, you know, Chrisberg should just be able to pick up this wave, but you're giving kills over to the Clister, you can kills over to the Jin Zhao. It's just, those are the two you don't want having gold, as we talked about earlier. Those are the primary carries on this composition. And it's starting to feel a little bit rough right now.
I think the only saving grace that I'm seeing for Nordavind is that their top lane and their bot lane will be building up relatively decent CS advantages. Like Kerberos, as you'd imagine, this matchup has the edge in the 1v1 and is starting to kind of accelerate that through his own CS leads. But Maxi is the name of the game for Fnatic right now. 2-0-2, 100% kill participation, controlling the pace, neutral objectives on lockdown, and you can now see that Dejor and Rux kind of providing a little bit of priority to allow Maxi to go for this Rift Herald, and I think he should be able to grab that uncontested.
Yeah, and then there's Dragon in 2 minutes, and I feel like, you know, if Fnatic are really hoping this is an Ocean Soul, because that comp's pretty stacked with an Ocean Soul, a lot of bulkier members will get value out of it, a lot of sustain already, which is going to just make it even harder to take you down. So if this is an Ocean, Nordavind were kind of forced to fight at that third Dragon, if not bare minimum the fourth. So does potentially put them in a rough spot, and it really depends on the outcome of what the next Dragon is. But for now, we see Nordavind leading bot side. Obviously, with the Herald being taken, they're free to apply pressure here, but the answer will come from Maxi when he places a Herald down and looks for a significant lead.
And also, it's difficult to dive a Nautilus. Like, very difficult to sort of straight up just push Sharp into a 3v2 dive there. Touch doesn't even have his ultimate yet. Yeah. So the timing just wasn't quite right for a forced player on the bot side of the map here for Nordavind, which now allows Maxi to respond wherever he likes, realistically, to set up that proactive play for Fnatic coming into, as you said, the next Dragon, or just obviously using that Rift Herald to sort of generate a load of plate gold for somebody.
Yeah, I think mid might be a decent option. I feel like you can do the double Herald mid play where you throw the first one down, get a couple of plates. Second one, you get the tower. It's at 4 plates right now, so that will, like, 2 Heralds alone is enough to kill it. And the thing is, I feel like taking a tier 1 in the side lane before that mid tower might actually be a negative play, simply because of the fact that it'll give Kerberos a long lane to play in, right?
They are going straight onto Chrisberg here. Not many stacks have been built up, though, by Bean. He couldn't quite get into the fight, and you can see Touch has used his ultimate to buy a bit of time. Does have that flash available if he needs it, and you can see Bean desperately looking. Oh, the hook comes through. Maxi finds the kill. And Touch, yeah, just caught out again here.
Yeah, so now this should be an easy pickup for this bot lane Dragon. I think they're toying with the idea of throwing the Herald bot. I prefer the Herald mid. I think it's a better play. But maybe fishing for a dive.
Fishing for a dive here, indeed. And now Chris Blaze will get taken down by Bean. That'll be the first kill of this dive. It'll now be Sharp that drops as well. It doesn't look like Fnatic have suffered at all with the switch out. They are playing exactly like they used to. As I'm going to be honest, Dejor has been involved in almost nothing. But the 4 remaining members of Fnatic, they are doing exactly what they've done every single game this season. They look on fire.
Yeah, and a ton of gold for both Maxi and Bean right now. Look at the gold difference between junglers, by the way. That's a pretty big gap, by all means. That is humongous. And those are the members you want to be strong. You want to be fed of this team composition. You have the support from the Seraphine. to really facilitate them. And then being this far ahead is just going to cause so many issues.
Gonna see that replay again here. The hook onto Chris Bergox.
Yeah, I mean, just connecting everything. And the thing is, you know, Touch is forced to go in to buy time. But the problem is there's no way he gets out here, right? The Rend is stacking up on him. He has the ult up, but it really doesn't matter because the Rend stacks are still there. And it's just an easy capitalization. This dive. The thing is, Maxi just does so much damage to Chrisberg. There's no chance of protecting him. And then here, with the stopwatch for Rux, 4 members, it's just... You know, the execution is very good, don't get me wrong, but Fnatic is stacking the deck, right? They aren't taking risks with these plays. They're giving enough of a numbers advantage. That 2v2 play that happened bot with Bean and Rux, they could have just killed Touch with just the 2 of them. But they made sure Maxi was there so they could not only guarantee the play goes in their favor, but also secure more of an advantage after it. And now they've taken that bot lane tier 1. It has opened up a long lane, but Kivros isn't there right now. And I think they're just going to start on this dragon. Again, Fnatic hoping this is an Ocean Soul.
Let's see. The dragon goes down, and it looks like we are getting a Cloud Soul. So it's going to be the...
It's a silver lining for Nordavind. It's not a big one. Maybe more of a copper lining, but it's something because as much as Cloud Soul has some value, you know, the movement speed, I don't think it's as problematic for Nordavind. So I think they're probably comfortable leaving... you know, their next team fight for a bit of time because right now they are at deficit. Fiora is still very much trying to farm up.
And it'll be quite a while until Kerberos becomes an absolute monster, side lane split pusher. You can see Bramble Vest is in the inventory of Pride. That's a very good, like, stalling item versus Fiora in the laning phase. Like, it buys you some time to sort of stop Fiora taking over as quickly as she would have been able to previously. And that is going to allow Fnatic to be much more aggressive on the map and continue to be proactive. You can see that they have now shifted Bean towards the mid lane. I imagine they're going to be waiting on Maxi to kind of drive any plays. They're obviously going to wait for that second Rift Herald too. Kerberos, he's going very low here. You can see Sharp actually diving in onto Pride. And Pride actually fancies his chances. You can see Nordavind not keen to get involved, and Pride will just bat off the 2v1, and the gank goes awry.
Yeah, there's nothing you can really do there, because the problem is they don't have a hard CC to actually proc the passive from Pride, other than the Lee Sin ult. So, you know, like, you might look at that situation, and Sharp could ult flash him backwards, but because of his passive, it's just never going to work. So, very hard to put him in place. Kivros obviously lost a ton of HP there, so... wasn't really going to be able to follow through on that play. And he will get his reset off. He will pick up his Gore Drinker. Definitely puts him in a better spot. But I feel like the time where he really starts to take over this matchup is when he has lifesteal in this build, like a substantial amount. And then any damage the Mundo does to him, he can kind of just heal up, whether it's from the Mundo or the minions. And that's the point where it becomes very difficult to hold. But for now, Pride's fine in the top lane, and the rest of the map is hard winning.
And Fnatic are, you know, keeping that mid lane priority to position her on the next Rift Herald spawn, which will allow them to potentially open up one of the other towers on this map. Probably with the amount of resources that are piling into mid, they are looking for a potential mid lane shove to then allow them to expand their vision more readily into the blue and red side jungle, which obviously with a pick style comp with the Nautilus, the Seraphine, that one will allow them to be much more proactive in searching to extend their advantage and their lead.
Absolutely. And again, the objective control is the aim of the game when you're ahead like this. So I think Fnatic can play this one out well. It just kind of feels a bit rough for Nordavind. And obviously, this isn't affecting their standings. They're still going to be going to playoffs. But I feel like they haven't been really at their peak in recent form. And we obviously saw in spring, they started the split off very rough. And then they ramped up over the course of the split, managed a 3rd place finish in playoffs. But at the moment, it feels like they started far stronger. And they're hitting a bit of a rough patch at the moment. And it's obviously the worst trajectory to be feeling that way going into playoffs. But in credit, this is Fnatic. Fnatic have been pretty consistently a solid lineup this entire split, as is the expectation. And I don't think losing against them is indicative that Nordavind are, you know, bad. But definitely raises some question marks when you look towards the playoffs, especially when you miss all your skill shots like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, that raised a bit of questions. I think they were looking to get a big play onto Dejor there to allow them to open up that mid lane tier 1 with Fnatic committing so many resources to the top side of the map. And just to your point on this matchup and this result, I think realistically, I think you kind of touched on it, but you have to beat Fnatic at some point. You know, like if you ain't beating them here and you want to make it to EU Masters, especially because Nordavind will be going through the lower bracket, you know, you're probably going to have to beat them either in the finals or, you know, if Tricked Fnatic, well, it looks like Fnatic are going to win here, but let's say they do. If Tricked then beat Fnatic, you're going to have to beat them in the lower bracket finals anyway. So you know, you're going to have to at some point be comfortable taking on Fnatic and actually looking to win versus them consistently in a best of format. And whilst this is a best of one, things can go awry. Nordavind haven't had Fnatic's number realistically, you know, at all this split. As it doesn't look like Sharp's got anyone's number as he gets absolutely caught out and slapped into the ground by the rest of Fnatic.
Needs the number for the coroner after that one, because he is just getting heavily targeted in this game. 0-4-0 now on the Speed Sin. Not had the successful early game we've hoped for. And the Orianna Ericsson has kind of been a non-factor. It's not really on him, but it's just like, it's very clear that Fnatic Rising wanted to play through their jungler and has been doing so. And, you know, Kerberos has started to do a fair bit of damage to towers, but he's still not at the point where he can kind of just hardcore duel the Mundo and easily take him out, even with the tower assisting potentially. He still needs more items, needs more time, and it's not a third dragon. This is not going to be contested. Sharp's nowhere near. Again, very lucky this is a Cloud Soul instead of an Ocean Soul, but even so, I'm not sure they can contest the next one that comes up.
And that is a flash in onto Ericsson, who's forced to respond in kind. And even if, like, this is a soul, if this gets taken, we're looking at what, like an early 20-minute soul here for Fnatic. Whilst that, you know, whilst it is Cloud Soul, whilst there is obviously, you know, some you know, silver lining that it's not the Ocean, that means a very early Elder win condition will be set up. Now, Pride's getting dived. I think it's very likely that he drops here with the amount of resources committed to Pride. Taking a while to put him into the floor, but he should eventually go down. I imagine they're trying to gift this over to Kerberos, which is why the Sharp
mana, so he can't actually Q on him.
I mean, Sharp has to take it. Yeah, Sharp has to take it. I mean, Kerberos didn't have the mana for lunge there.
I don't think they wanted to waste any more time chasing that one around. You know, they get the kill. It's something. They get the tower as well. It's a bit of an influx in gold. Definitely won't complain about that, but I don't think it drastically changes the state of the game, other than some minor acceleration towards Kerberos, and hopefully leading to him getting closer to his items. But for the time being, still very much Fnatic in control. Not really as much on the map to play for now. Obviously, all those tier 1s down. And Dragon not up for 4 minutes, so they're kind of just satisfied farming up, taking their time with the game.
Deja did just try to go for a flash Seraphine ult there. I imagine because that spell book would allow him to like just mix up his spells at this point, but he didn't quite catch it onto Chrisberg, so wasn't able to do anything with it, and really wouldn't have resulted in anything major, I think, being taken on the map either, because the Fnatic have pretty much cleared out everything from those tier 1s onwards. But this is what we talked about. You can see how much defensive vision has gone down in the red side jungle here for Nordavind. They know that Fnatic can now look to be much more aggressive and set up those plays to make some picks with the Nautilus and try and pick up some of these tier 2s. And that's why, you know, you see Maxi going through and clearing out as much as he can.
Fnatic heavily playing through this top lane. But I think at this point, suddenly Mundo and Seraphine have shown on the map. This is when Nordavind can actually look for a play. They know this is only 3 members of Fnatic Rising. Yes, there are TPs available, but if they get a quick engage off, maybe they can burst someone down before they hit the fact. Although, I think, you know, Fnatic back away, they realize the window's not there. Nothing really going to come for it. But I think that's the opportunities Nordavind can look for if they do want to commit to a fight, is scenarios where Fnatic are split. You're going to have that numbers advantage. You're going to be able to quickly dispatch. You know, ideally being Maxi a little bit harder to take down, but if you can pop them, they lose so much value. That's the thing with Seraphine, because she's AoE shielding and healing. Her value is sort of augmented by how many champions are there with her.
Kerberos still isn't there yet, by the way. Still not able to duel Pride, although he does have that ultimate. The Grand Challenge has been thrown down. Kerberos protecting his vitals, Pride protecting his vitals nicely, but will eventually get popped. Maxi dives in here onto Kerberos, but can't quite find the killing blow. She just misses his ultimate as well. Kerberos actually gets out of this one. Pride still kept alive as well. There's the shockwave coming through onto Maxi. He gets taken down. The shutdown's there. There comes the encore to try and buy a bit more space. Ericsson recently burnt Flash, and he will go down to Pride. Little bit of a mismanagement there from Maxi, though. Didn't quite manage to kill off Kerberos.
Yeah, honestly, favorable play for the side of Nordavind, 1-for-1, but they get a massive shutdown onto that Jin Zhao, so they'll take that one. Won't really complain. I feel like, you know, Kerberos isn't in the position where he has any lifesteal in this build. He can't just trade with Pride and then heal up off the wave. And Pride popping the ultimate, just a very bulky target to take down. But actually, I feel like Pride makes a bit of a mistake here. You just need to not let Kerberos proc his passive, because if you didn't, he would just die instantly. You could have just stayed against the wall and let Maxi deal with the threat, but gives him this window, lets him survive a bit longer, allows Nordavind to get reinforcements, and then they very quickly burst Maxi out. And sure, they lose the Orianna here, but the 1-for-1 trade is still completely fine for them.
Soul spawns in a minute's time here, Orcs. I don't know if that second Rift Herald actually got taken, by the way.
Yeah, they used it mid.
Oh, they used it mid. Okay, sure. I completely missed that somehow. So it looks like Soul will obviously be the next thing that Fnatic look to go for. Now, the question is whether Nordavind feel comfortable actually contesting that. If you look at some of their mythics, I mean, they have got some key mythics picked up on most of their champions. That rapid fire cannon is there for Chrisberg as well. So very early rapid fire cannon coming through in his build. I still think they're outclassed in terms of item spikes, but they do have some key items that might allow them to be a bit more competitive in this fight. It's whether they want to go for it. You can see Ericsson not yet moving to position. Looks like he's very happily clearing out top lane waves. I wonder if Nordavind are not actually that bothered about the Cloud Soul.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother with it. I mean, it's a hard fight to win, and if you lose a fight, you probably lose a Baron. And if you lose Baron, you're probably losing the game. So let it go. It's not nice to give over the enemy team, but again, it's a Cloud on Ocean. The extra sustain probably would have been very difficult to overcome, but the extra movement speed, I think Nordavind can kind of deal with. Just, they need to not get caught out getting too close, right? Although from the looks of it, they're grouping up the fight. Not sure I feel like this is the greatest idea, but we'll see what they manage to make of it.
You can see Seraphine should... Oh, actually gets a nice pick onto Kerberos here. We actually start the fight. The Encore comes through. It's a big Encore that hits the entire backline of Nordavind, and they're getting taken pretty low for the time being. Bean also dropped pretty low, but he will eventually recover, taking out, I think, Unstoppable onto Sharp to begin with. Now Ericsson trying to kite away for the team. You'll see that Maxi took down Chrisberg at the same time. And as you said, Orcs, not the best look for Nordavind to go for that engage.
And you just give 2 kills over them as well as the dragon. It's like they get what they want, but you gave them a bonus. So not a big fan of that plan. You can even see, like, I don't think Nordavind necessarily played that fight badly. Ericsson got like a massive shockwave, but they just couldn't find access on the right targets. And the thing is, you have to kill targets against this composition. Getting someone low is irrelevant because they will just get healed up. They will just sustain up. And that applies not just to the fact there's a Seraphine, but also Mundo, Xin Zhao, Kalista with a Vamp Steps and a Shield Bow. All of these champions have a ton of sustain. If they're not dying, they're going to keep finding value. And Nordavind, I want to stop this Baron, but I think this is just gone.
I think this is just gone now. Nordavind may be looking for a crazy steal with Sharp. He jumps in, Sonic Wave, over the wall, drops, and he steals it! Steals it, and that is a lifeline for Nordavind. Easy as you like, Sonic Wave to get the vision, and then comes in for the smite.
Yeah, and it's just honestly a mistake from the side of Fnatic Rising. They had members who could run interruption. They saw the Lee Sin QE come in, and instead of stopping damage, they just decided to coin flip it, and they lost the coin flip. Good job from Sharp, and as a result, Nordavind able to get themselves a little bit out. You can see the replay here, so huge amount of CC on this backline, but this massive shockwave coming in from Ericsson does a fair chunk of damage, but again, it's not killing everyone. And you can look at the side of Fnatic Rising. Health bars just getting consistently healed up over time. The shielding comes in. No one has gone down, and them being low is kind of irrelevant. And then this play, they could have stopped the damage, but they just pushed the number. You know, you could have done so many different things. Rux could have flashed over and rooted the Lee Sin, so there's no way he can get over. And then you guarantee the smite. I just think ultimately it was a little bit cocky from the side of Fnatic Rising, a little bit greedy.
And that has actually brought the gold into a relatively manageable position. And it's also, now you're looking at a Kerberos that can effectively split push and no one could deal with him. That's a flash engage onto Ericsson, won't quite land. But I am a little concerned now for Fnatic Rising. They have to kind of force the issue away from split push. They have to be more proactive with their engages like we just saw from Rux there. Because I don't know who can actually stop Kerberos at this point. He's getting towards those item spikes and now has the Baron minion wave to work with too.
Yeah, I still think he's a little bit rough in the fight, and looks like he's getting one brought to him. No help coming in on this one.
He tries to go for the big flash engage onto Bean. I don't think he'll find the kill. Bean should be able to rend him down. And yep, Kerberos A little bit overextended, but you can see that Sharp and Chrisberg in the meantime in that bot lane trying to push in with that Baron minion wave. Pride doing what he can to defend. He does have the support of Rux nearby, and I don't think we'll have an overcommit. Ericsson caught out. That's a great encore that bounces off Ericsson. And Maxi will pick up another kill, his 5th of the game.
Yeah, I mean, they're just walking around the map, picking people from Nordavind off. This is Nordavind with a Baron, and they're losing members off the back of it. They're losing pressure. Really has not been a good look for Nordavind in this game so far. And Fnatic, as much as they made that mistake around the Baron, and you can see it on the gold graph, you can see that massive up dip where they secured it and got a big influx of gold. It's still Fnatic in control.
And Touch tries to go for a defensive play here, so Sharp overextends ever so slightly. Rux taken down pretty low, tries to get out with the shield, but is taken to a sliver of HP. On the meantime, we have Kerberos on the Fiora flank, and they can all see him coming. And it's actually leaving Rux out to dry time being. There'll be the riposte, won't do anything. Kerberos will drop, Bean is godlike, and Fnatic should be able to push through mid.
Yeah, it kind of feels like Nordavind really didn't have too much oomph in them in that last fight there. It kind of just felt like, you know, I guess we need to fight. We need to do something. Fnatic really wiped the floor with them in this game. I mean, it's just dotting the I's and crossing the T's at this point.
We're going to take down the middle inhibitor tower. The next inhibitor will be dropping too. And also get a top lane inhibitor tower, and that should be the second inhibitor taken by Fnatic. So the reverse Baron power play. You lose Baron, but you still get all the towers. And Nordavind, unfortunately, struggled to convert off that steal.
I mean, imagine if Fnatic had gotten the Baron. I think the game would just be over at this point. But yeah, it just kind of feels desperate. They don't win team fights. Team fighting's never been their game plan, but I still feel like Kirbs is not strong enough. Like, realistically, you need... I feel like 3 items is a better point once he's finished the Hydra. But even then, like, Pride's pretty strong right now. Has the Warbogs, can just back away, sustain back up, then look to trade with you again. And on top of it, the problem is no one else on Nordavind really has pressure. So Fnatic can just go wherever they want and collapse on Kirb. If Kirb's a problem, they will shut him down. They don't feel like they have to really be threatened by anyone else on Nordavind. And you kind of see that here. They're just going to walk at Touch and there's nothing you can do.
And yeah, Touch actually forced to flush away again, has that ultimate going, but will eventually drop down. Dejor finds the root, and he'll be on a rampage himself. Brilliant hook, brings Sharp in. Sharp has had a pretty awful game thus far, and Bean will make it even worse as Maxi just solos out Chrisberg on the backline. A double kill for Dejor. They'll get the kill onto Ericsson as well. And Kerberos didn't even bother. He knew there was no way he was impacting that fight. He knows that he's not going to stop the game from ending either.
Base race.
I mean, he's going to try to. I mean, but realistically, that's all he can do. I think this will be the game over right now for Fnatic. They take down the first Nexus Tower. They're going to take down the second. Will not have tiebreakers in the NLC. And Fnatic will secure their first spot in Group B.
Close. You know, Kerberos nearly ended there. But yeah, I mean, this kind of just felt like Fnatic, you know, Dejor looked really good on the roster. I think obviously, you know, there's definitely somebody mentioned that the earlier plays weren't necessarily conditional of him, but when he was joining the plays, the team was doing well. Felt like they didn't miss a beat without Fev even being on the roster, and it's kind of, it's not super important. I know them getting into the position, sort of getting that win is valuable by all means, securing that first place spot. But I feel like the fact that we're seeing them in this good form against Nordavind, who are another playoffs team, is a good omen for how playoffs are going to go. So honestly, all I can really say is I'm feeling confident about Fnatic. Nordavind, still some question marks.
Honestly, I know I'm happy to make this statement. Out of all the teams that are high up in our standings right now, I think Fnatic always look the most dominant. When it comes to a win, it's just Fnatic look like they don't have to work for it. Whereas a lot of teams, they do look like they have to work for it. Even Tricked look like they have to work for their wins. Fnatic, when they win, it very rarely looks like they have to work for it. And I think that is good omens going into those playoff situations, especially for European Masters. We're going to go to a short break. When we're back, Analyst Desk should have an interview with someone from Fnatic, and we'll also break down that game a bit further.